uh, see the Hebrew page Ches, page 4 on the copies, the mimer, and we were speaking about the pasuk in Shir Hashirim Yitnech Ka'achli. He says over there that bachutz, that I will find you outside, and we spoke about the yichud, the connection, and hashras hashchina that there is in the Aron, the in the Migdash and Mishkan, which means that the means through which there is Ashras Hashchina is through Torah, and that's why when there is no Beis Hamikdash, it's replaced by a Dal Amis Shalabachem. But we said the Chiddush that Emtzoecha Bachutz, that those that are outside, that are not within the tents of Torah, and they are Bali Uvdin Tavim, they're called Bali Asakim, business people, the level of Zvulim, not the level of Yisachar. They are connecting with Hashem through mitzvahs, dafka on the outside. They actually have a higher level of connection and what's brought down in the Hashras Hashchit. It's even higher than the level of Limra Torah, to the degree that we say, Ashokacha, I will kiss you, that it's a level of a pneumistic connect. So now he's going to go on to explain another detail about the Aron. This is what we spoke about before concerning Torah. Now he's going to talk about another concept of the Aron, and that's the Kruvim and the Kapoiros. So line Ches, page Ches, line 3, on the 4th page of the Kap. In addition to the general idea, Shechina residing and resting in the Migdash. That was in the Aron. As we said before, that was the primary place where Shechina came down in. It's explained over there in that Maimer of Torah that has this Dibra Maskal and Parshas Trumbam. That this residing of the Shechina on the Aron, and we say that Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu from the Aron. That's another indication of it having to do with the Aron and the Torah side, but it also has to do with the Kruvim that was al kaporos, that was on top of the kaporos. Then the voice came out from between the two Kruvim. Therefore, it's called that mi yitnech ka'achli, that halavai. I'm hoping that be the time when you would give me and you would make me like a brother, because the Kruvim look like two brothers to each other. So we are hoping and we are waiting and we are davening for a time when we'll be again like a brother, like the two Kruvim. So now he goes on to explain an interesting thing about the Kruvim. On concerning the Kruvim, the Chazal say, Hainu pnei Kruv, Hainu pnei Adam. There, the Chazal ask a question that it says in the discussion of in the voice Yecheskel, where it speaks about the different faces of the Malachim and the Merkav Elyoina, and it speaks about how every one of the 4 images has 4 images itself, and it explains that it had a Pnei Kruv and a Pnei Adam and a Pnei Shoyer and something else. So the Gemara asks, Kruv and Adam are the same thing. A human face and the face of the Kruv is the same thing. So what does it mean that it had a Pnei Kruv and a Pnei Adam as if it's a different face? Tirtzum, the Gemara answers, Aper Rabreve v'Aper Zutre. Big faces versus small faces. In other words, Pnei Adam is an adult face, an adult person. That's one image. And Kruv is an image of a small face, meaning a child face. The word is Hashem, and it's explained over there in that Maimer, the Alter Rebbe, or in that the idea behind this is the Inyan Aper Rav Pnei Adam, the idea of the big face, the large face, Pnei Adam, that it says over there, Inyan HaTorah Shalamayla. It's the level of Torah, the way it's in the Olam Mitzalyon, the way it's in Atzilus, for example. That is the level of the mature face. Zois HaTorah Adam, this is the Torah Adam. Adam and Torah are associated, interchangeable. When we talk about Pnei Adam, we're talking about Torah. Since it's a mature face, we're not talking about the Torah the way it's down here. We're talking about the Torah the way it's above in Oil Masal Yain. Loimar, we could say Shalom is even higher than the level of the Torah of above. It's the level of Arich Ampin. That's the mature face. Also, it's a play also on the words. Arich Ampin literally means a long face, means a big face, big revelations, etc. The lower level in Kesser. That is the level of the Pnei Adam, of the adult face. The Inyan Apizutre and the idea of the small face, the child's face, Zeir Anpin, that goes also in Atzilus, the level of the small faces. Zeir Anpin literally means small faces, the midas of Atzilus. That is already not the Torah the way it's in El Masal Yoinim, but Yam Shachas HaTorah, they are Kruvim Lamato. It's the way the Torah is brought down through the Kruvim down here below. So the Kruvim is the idea of the means that the Torah is brought down into our world, as opposed to the level of Pnei Adam. Adam is beyond the world. Kruvim has to do with the world. That's why it's there in the Aron, because the Aron is the Hashras Hashchina that has to do in the Torah. So that Hashras Hashchina has to do in the Torah has to do with our world. So you have the idea of the Kruv. So that's point number one. Kruvim is the means and the channel through which the level of the small faces, the level of Zeir Anpin, through which the Torah comes down to this world. That's why it's on top of it. The Zeg Gupa, and in this itself, there is details involved in the Kruvim. Yes, base Kruvim. First of all, there are two Kruvim, the Kapoides, and also there is the covering for the art. There's also brought down in the explained also in the continuation of that Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, and also in the Alter Rebbe's own very manuscript of the Maimer, or on this topic, the Inyan Beis HaKruvim, the book concerning the two Kruv, that says by them, Kruv Echad Mikatzim Mizeh, or Kruv Echad Mikatzim Mizeh, it describes the location of the Kruvim on top of the Aron. So it says one Kruv is on this end and one Kruv is on that end. Kotze indicates an end and an edge of a certain level. So too spiritually, there are two ends in the Hamshachas that come from above. But it's not two ends as like by the Kruvim that it was on opposite ends, but it's actually ends that are close to each other. It's an end of a higher level and the end meaning the beginning of the lower level, so they're close to each other. So it says inside line 15, we talk about one end that the Kruvim are corresponding to is the ends of the infinite worlds. That is Zeir Anpin, like we said before, that the Kruv, which is a small face, a minor face, has to do with Zeir Anpin. Zeir Anpin is the minor face as well. And the other end of the Kruv is the uppermost edge. Chilas ha'olam is the Tzirasi at the beginning of the world of Biyah, Spiritus HaMalchus. So you have, throughout Chassidus, we're always talking about Zoh and Nukva, the feminine and the masculine, etc., etc. You have Zoh is one end of the Kruv because the end of the Iron Sof, and the other end going from top to bottom, from bottom to top, that's the level of Spiritus HaMalchus, that's the other Kruv. Which Neim Yachad, both of them together, Nasim Miksha Achas Miakapoidus. They become one piece hammered out from the Kapoidus, the cover of the Aron. What is that Kapoidus from which the two Kruvim are hammered out from? The Kapoidus from which the Kruvim come out from, that's a Keser for both of these levels. In other words, that there's a level of Kesser as it is two individual levels that Kabbalah talks about. There's Kesser Atzilus and Kesser of Yah, and there's a level in Bina that becomes a Kesser to the Midas. The Kapoiris is the level that's a Kesser to both this Kruv and that Kruv. It's the source of the two Kruv. So it's the crown, the level from which both Kruvim come out from which Zah and Malchus are derived from. Bechinas Chuppah. They are the level of Chuppah, just like by a wedding again. You have the Chuppah that covers and that surrounds and is a makif over the Chosn and Kala. So too, in this level of feminine and masculine, the level of Zeir Ampin and Nukva, two Kruvim, you have the Keser from which both Kruvim come out from. That's the Chuppah over them. Both of them come down from the level of the kapoiros and the keser that's higher in the Oren. We're placing the keser as a covering over and on top of the Oren. So that means that the two kruvim, Zeir Ampin and Malchus, are coming out from a keser that's higher than Oren. Sham Hoisa Hashkros Hashchina canal that over there in the Oren was where the Shechina rested. So he says in line 21, V'zeu inyan mi yitnech ka'achli yonik shdei imi and ta'acha bashu. Who will place you? Who will make you like a brother to me, nursing from my mother's breasts? I will find you outside. I will kiss you. Basically, I'll bring you to my mother's house. The content of the request of Klal Yisrael from Hashem in the time of exile is that he should be like a brother to me. We should have that revelation of godliness that we experience in the Kruvim. In other words, in this joining and this union of the Keser that joins the two Kruvim and so on. And what are we asking it for? Which should come down both in the avoid of those that are sitting in the tents. In other words, those that are learning Torah, which we spoke about before. That's the place of the Eibishter in the world these days is Dal Dal Shal in place of the Aron, which was the Luchas, and also the Balei Asakim. That's them to Acha Bachutz. Those are outside. The revelation of godliness that were in both groups. Any questions before we go on? Page test, line 3, 5th page of the printout. We could say additional. That the meaning of this pasuk is not just, it's an expression of a request. That halavai, I'm hoping, I wish to have this revelation of godliness like we have in the Beis Hamikdash, both in the business people and in the people that are learning Torah. What it says, who will give, which is usually an expression of request. We could explain it actually in a way of calmness. In other words, it's not a request, it's a statement. Me, from the level designated as who, will come down the idea that's following it, that should be for me as a brother. What does that mean? In other words, this level that we're trying to attain, that even in a time of Golus, we should have the Gilui Elokus, like in the Beis Hamikdash, that should come down both to Yosh V'Yoel and Balei Asakim, both to Yisachar and Zvulun. This will come down, and this we are making a statement, not asking. It comes down from the level of me. So he gives an example from somewhere else where we see that me is a level that influences and gives Hamshachol. Similar to what's explained in the Torah and Parsh Bamidbar. Pirish HaPasuk, in the explanation of the Pasuk, Mi yitin v'hoya levavim zeh lahem liyira oisim. Who would give? Hashem is like wishing for himself, Alavai, that their heart would be for me, would be in such a state that they would always fear me as they did by Matan Torah, and that they would proclaim, we're too scared to hear from Hashem. We want you, Moshe Rabbeinu, to speak. So Hashem is like wishing himself, Alavai, Alavai meet, and who can give that it should be their fear of me always like this. So Alter Rebbe for the Torah doesn't say me and again, instead of a request and a wish, but it's in a way of a statement. Pirish Pasuk Zed Alter Rebbe explains the meaning of this Pasuk. Hu benichusa is in the way of saying a statement. The B'chinas me who ain't so baruch v'asayv klam she'einu musa level of who is the infinite light of Hashem that encompasses all the world. That's totally not comprehended. That's why it's called me. Who? We cannot identify. Just like we talk about Yesh Me'ayin, it's coming from nothing. Why is it coming from nothing? Of course, there's the Eibishter, but it's something we don't comprehend, so we call it Ayin. The same thing. When do we say me? Something that's incomprehensible. We don't know who. It's a mystery to us. That me is referring to the Ein Sof. So from the Ein Sof, the Alter Rebbe states, he is the one that gives their heart that they should fear me from the source. That's the source of where the Yira comes to the Yid, from the level of Soiv Kalam, which is incomprehensible. So just like the Alter Rebbe explains that in Likutei Torah over there on the pasuk Mi Yitain, so too the Rebbe applies this over here. Mi Yitencha Ka'achli, Valderech Zo Gam Pasuk Zeh Mi Yitencha Ka'achli. Similarly, also it's in this pasuk, Shevchinas Mi Yum Shach Sheyiyetencha Ka'achli. It will come down. That should be like a brother to me, that the Ein Sof will become revealed, both to the Bali, the Yoshvei Oyel and Bali Asakim, those that are sitting and learning Torah, and those that are doing mitzvahs. Then the Rebbe adds another point in line 13, the emphasis on the word Yitencha. Why specifically do we use Yitencha? You could say some other word that will indicate that we brought down to them this revelation. The word nesina, the word giving, has a very powerful connotation. In addition to this, in nesina, the idea of you will give from the expression of something that's given by a pasuk, going like the pasuk, who will give, etc. It indicates a very high hamshach. To my mind, like the statement is, whoever gives with a good eye. In other words, if a person sells something to someone else, so a sale is usually calculated. You paid for this amount of items, that's exactly what you're going to get. You paid for this type of quality, that's what you're going to get. But a gift, the whole idea of a gift is something that a person gives like from their heart. So when they give a gift, they are not calculated. They give in ba'ayin yafa, as the expression of Chazal is. They give without, being cheap about it and so on. So the same thing over here, the Rebbe is applying it. Mi yitancha ka'achli, that when Hashem gives us this idea of yitain, it's this idea that we should be like a brother, that we should be in such a way that we'll have this hamshacha from above, even though there's no Beis Hamikdash, both to business people and to those that learn Torah. It's in a way that he gives, not in a way of being calculated and limited and so on. And the line 15, but Oiza is another thing. All examining the small little phrase, mi yitancha ka'achli. So mi yitan ka'ach we already know before, that's the kruvim. What's the li? Masha kasav li mi yitancha ka'achli, where it says li, who will give you like a brother to me. This indicates that this hamshach is everlasting. Now meet in like in this above mentioned pasuk, who will give, that their hearts will be the Messiah that includes kol hayamim gomer la'olam, all the days forever. That's over there in that pasuk where Hashem would wish that the Yidden would have the fear that they had during Matan Torah. So he concludes all the time, all the days, forever. So just like in that pasuk, even though it doesn't say the word li, it means forever. The same thing over here where it says mi yitnech ka'ach li, it shows that it should be forever. Why does this indicate forever? So there's the very famous Maimon Chazal, Maimon of the same Chazal say, Kol Makom Shenamer Li, wherever it says the word Li, it stays forever. It doesn't move aside. On the side of the page, the left side of the page, he brings down the entire Maimon Chazal about. Yes, Lakach is a gamma pasuk on al parsha Shavua. We could also connect it back to our pasuk in the parsha of the week. It says, "Also the migdash chanti b'soicham. They shall make for me a migdash, and I shall rest amongst them." The gam pirush tevis li pasuk zeh. When you're on this, is also the meaning of the word li. In this pasuk is the idea of an everlasting thing. That's what it means v'asli migdash, that the migdash always remains. That it never moves. In other places that Rebbe speaks about, we saw the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash. What's it mean that it never moves? There's a few concepts in it. One concept is it says that the Mishkan was never destroyed. The Mishkan was hidden away. So the core and the beginning of the Mikdash is there. Also, the Rebbe explains in another place that we know the Aron, what is always there in the place of the Beis Hamikdash, in the underground caverns, in twisting and winding caverns that Shlomo Melech prepared from as soon as Beis Hamikdash was built. So therefore, the holiness and the sanctity and the what makes the Beis Hamikdash has always been there and never really ceased, because the Aron is always there underneath the place of the Beis Hamikdash and was sanctified by Shlomo Melech. And another place that Rebbe explains that it's the spiritual aspect of the Beis Hamikdash is always there, just waiting to come down in the physical. So these are all expressions of the li, of the everlasting nature. So the same thing, the Rebbe is applying this concerning that the li, that there should be an everlasting hamshacha to the to the Yidden, even the ones that are bachutz, even the ones that are outside, that they also have this hamshacha of the ka'achli of Hashem coming down and bringing down to them from the highest, most levels. Bottom of the fifth page, line 23. According to all of this, Yuvan Teuchen Klolos Avoidus Ha'adam is mana golos, will be understood the content of the general avodah of a person in the time of golos. Is mana golos b'chlolos, the time of golos in general. U'inyan emtza'acha b'chutz is the time of top of Beit Yud that I will find you outside. Though before in the Maimer we were talking about outside versus not outside, is the idea of Torah versus Bali Asakim. Like it says, Smach Zvulun b'tzeisecha, rejoice Zvulun in your going out, but more particular or more specifically, the time of Golus is the time of being out. Because Yidden find themselves outside of their place, and this is regardless of Bali Asakim or Yoshvei Oil. But being outside of our place, we might think that we don't have the connection like before. So that we're saying Yitnech, we do have that Amshach. And to a certain degree, even more, like we said, the Shokacha Bachutz, I will kiss you on the outside. Now, just because we're on the outside doesn't mean we don't have the distinctions. We still have the distinctions we spoke about before, about Yoshvei Oyel and those that are learning Torah. In this itself, there's two types of service. Inyan Limudat Torah, Morin Torah, Bechinas Kaf, Bachutz, the idea of Torah study, masters of Torah, the level of the brother to me, that is on the outside, meaning on the outside because we're in the time of Golus. That's why we're called, even those that are learning Torah are called on the outside. And the Inyan Uvdin Tovin, and there's the idea of those that perform good deeds. That's the outside of the outside. So in general, when we're in Golus, we're all outside. But in the businessman, the time of Golus, the outside of the outside. And in general, these are the two categories of those that study Torah are known as Yisachar, and those that are involved in doing good deeds, in mitzvahs. In the business world, they are called Zvulun. The ultimate perfection. This is the idea that I will find you outside the canal, like we said before, that specifically and only on the outside, that's where we have this union of a kiss, which those are on the inside does not have. Noida, like we know, the tachlis chachma. The goal of chachma is tshuva ma'asim tovim. So therefore, since you have the loim de Torah, but the ultimate thing is the tshuva ma'asim tovim, the good deeds that has the level of the pnimius, like we said before, that has the level of the kiss. So in avodas asman, that's the idea of the avodah of these days, to deal with the chutz and to bring that chachma to the level of ma'asim tovim. But these days we have to spread the well springs outward, specifically chutza daika, like we're talking about in Tzach Chutz. We have to bring the well springs outward. I should find you outside. That's where I should find the Eibishter. And over there to the outside, we draw the well springs themselves. I was looking at a sikha recently that Rebbe was talking about by Favrengen about the importance of printing Tanyas everywhere. That is one of the expressions of bringing the wellspring itself outside. Not just, I learned Tanya and I share it with someone that's outside. I bring the actual Tanya and I'm actually printed in that location, and the people in that location learn from it. That is the ultimate of taking the Mayan itself, the wellspring itself of Chassidus, and bring it in the outside. Even maybe this brings about that you shall make from me a migdash, and I shall dwell amongst them. Begula mitzvah shleima dem tzedkeinu, into true and complete redemption through Mashiach. Called godly Yeshua Heinu, when a great congregation, the Navi says, will return here to Eretz Yisrael. Called godly kol ifani avoda Yisachar Zvulun Yehuda v'Yosef Ma'asav Talmud. Why are we using the expression a great congregation? Will return. Why the great congregation? A congregation indicates all facets and all aspects of Yidden, both Yisachar and Zvul. And another different aspects of Yidden is Yehuda and Yosef, which Yehuda represents the idea of Maisa, doing the mitzvahs again, but Yosef is again indicates the level of learning, Talmud. The Oz, that's Yosef is about increasing, just like learning, there's a mitzvah la fashala. Oz Yeh Shleimus Inyan, the Vasili Migdash. Then there'll be the perfection of the matter that you will make for me a Migdash. And then it will be Kol Makom Shenamer Li, Ein Nezaz La'olam, wherever it says Li, it's not, it won't move forever. We'll see this in the physicality of this world, in the down-to-earth part of this world. Ki Oz Yeh Migdash HaNitzchi, because then there will be the everlasting base of Migdash. Migdash Adnai Kainu Yedecha, the Migdash of Hashem, that's your own hands made, and therefore, since it's Hashem's hands that made it, it's everlasting. The Gulan Nitzcha Sheinachra Golas, in the everlasting redemption that has no Golas following it, not like the other redemptions that were followed by an exile. Not like it says after Yitzias Mitzrayim that says Shir Chadosh, that says a new song, but it says a new song in the feminine usage, where it says Shir Chadosh about Mashiach's times, which is masculine, because the masculine Chazal indicate that is something that's lasting. It's not something that will Chas Shalom return to its previous situation. And then when Mashiach comes, will be new Torah and a new heavens and earth, like we spoke about in the previous Maimer, the Gula Mitzvah Shleima, in the true and complete redemption.